too quickly and without community consent. And we have 830 names here who say the same thing. Thank you very much.
My name is Sheila France. I live at 86 Wall Street in Kingston. Father Frank Alagna of Holy Cross Santa Cruz Episcopal Church has asked me to read this statement in response to objections that Kingston's declaring itself a sanctuary city. If we review some of the principal objections to Kingston declaring itself a sanctuary city, we will find that they are not as compelling as some may imagine. First, while it is true that countries have a right to establish and maintain their borders, from a moral point of view, that right is not an absolute right. In the face of situations of desperation and crying human need, that right must give way to something more basic. If someone crosses our borders in flight for survival, their right to life takes precedence over any right to define our boundaries. All laws must be interpreted in the light of the specifics of a given situation. To blindly apply the law, the letter of the law, is to run the risk of making law an instrument of and a partner in oppression. As Jesus said, the law is made for man and not man for the law. Second, if we have a viable immigration program in place, individuals desiring to enter our country might apply to do so and be processed legally. However, we must face the hard truth that we have not, for a very long time, had a process in place for those in dire straits to make application and receive timely consideration. One cannot successfully apply unless one has demonstrated financial means. This leaves out any who might desire to come here because their life is economically untenable in their home country. Third, it is simply not true that illegal immigrants are a financial drain on our community resources and/or our social services. Except for emergency room treatment, no services are ever made available to members of this population. It is not accurate to argue otherwise. As a matter of fact, most undocumented people pay their share of taxes and receive little to nothing in return. As far as their children attending our schools, these children are citizens and have an unquestionable right to free public education. Lastly, there is no evidence to suggest that undocumented people, as a group, constitute a criminal threat to our community. It is neither just nor accurate to profile this group or any group in such a fashion. Of course, a particular undocumented individual could be found to be a criminal, but so can citizens belonging to any group prove to be socially undesirable. We must resist every impulse to scapegoating. The Judeo-Christian tradition and its scriptures unequivocally support our defining this city as a sanctuary for all people, documented and undocumented. The book of Leviticus tells us, the alien who resides with you must be to you like a native citizen among you. You must love him as yourself. In Christ there is neither Jew nor Gentile, there is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, for all of you are one in Jesus Christ. Do we think Paul would have hesitated to add documented or undocumented? Okay. It is always God's intention that we live from a place of faith rather than fear, a place of inclusiveness rather than exclusiveness, and a place of generosity rather than self-interest. Love for our neighbor, a word that for God knows no exclusion, is always our only real way forward. May it be the choice that we make today. Thank you.
Trying to keep it under the 2 minutes, because we're on like 6 out of 62. I apologize. Next speaker.
My name is Vince Rue. I graduated from Kingston High School in 1971, pursued a career in accounting and finance in New York City. Returned to Kingston 3 years ago, and I now live with my wife on West Chestnut Street. Discussing whether or not a city should seek sanctuary city status, however, is one that requires more analysis than I believe many have considered. As gatekeepers of our city, you, our council members, or common council members, have a fiduciary responsibility to analyze the impact of becoming a sanctuary city. So, my concerns will focus on financial questions and follow. 1, has the Common Council commissioned a study to project the impact on residential real estate values in the city of Kingston? Has the Common Council commissioned a study to investigate how many new citizens could migrate to Kingston and at what cost? Has a study been commissioned to identify and quantify the cost of local as well as safety net services needed from the county for an influx of new citizens? Section 8 housing, probation, job training costs, local service demands for police and fire protection, education demands. It might be a stretch, but will our new high school even be big enough? Has the Common Council conducted a study to determine what impact sanctuary city status will have on property taxes? As a CPA, looking at our revenue streams, it seems to me that the only one we can look to increase is property taxes. Has the Common Council conducted a study to determine what impact such status will have on crime rates? Notwithstanding the previous speaker's comments, San Francisco, for example, reported 10 rapes in 2011, 47 in 2014. Has the Common Council commissioned a study to assess the impact of promised withholding of federal funding from sanctuary cities? Kingston receives almost $700,000 in block grants. Ironically, the communities that are aided most by these federal funds include the immigrant community. But that's not all. Other minority communities will be impacted as well. Let's take wards 4 and 5 as but one example. Nina Dawson and William Carey's constituents include the Boys and Girls Club, which relies on federal funding. What happens if such funding is withheld? So, in conclusion, I would respectfully request, kind of in line with what Dennis Pitcock suggested, but a little different, I would respect that our Common Council consider tabling tonight's vote on the proposed resolution until such time as appropriate and independent studies have been conducted to address the above concerns. I'm not asking for a vote against, simply a vote to table the proposed resolution until all due diligence expected of our gatekeepers, aka Common Council members, can be completed, studied, and discussed at a later date.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council, the community. I'm glad to be here tonight. A number of you don't know me. I've only lived in the city of Kingston for 14 years. I was born overseas and lived most of my childhood overseas in countries like Colombia, Venezuela, Guatemala, and Liberia. And I know quite a lot about the immigrant situation, refugee status of a number of people, and I have throughout my entire life. I later went on to serve the United States Navy on a nuclear submarine, which is not nearly as dangerous as the job that our fine officers over here and over here have, so thanks to all of you. However, I do also understand, specifically in my own experience, the idea of Christianity. As a veteran, and while I was on active duty, I've benefited from even the outreach of strangers to have me join them in their homes on, especially on holidays and on situations where it was important to have people around. And when you're serving active duty, you're often displaced from your family. And I've always appreciated that type of Christianity, and I think it's imperative that a community continues that. However, just to make a few points about this idea of sanctuary cities. First of all, in light of all the people that I know that have gone through a legal immigration process, I just want to reiterate what's been said before. This idea is really a slap in the face to those people. They went through a process that was extremely difficult. They paid a very high price to do it. They made sacrifices. They made very serious sacrifices, and they followed the law. And if we allow other people to circumnavigate that same path, it's not fair to them. Secondly, and to reiterate previous comments, sanctuary cities do invite an increase in the cost, the burden on the community. That both happens in hospitals and it happens in the schools. And the city needs to be prepared to meet that. It does promote crime and lawlessness. We've seen many examples of that throughout the country, especially in San Francisco, and also recently in Texas. Just think about something critical here. There's a reason why that really kind woman that lives down the street from you is not allowed to have 250 cats. It's not safe, it's not healthy, it's not right. For that very reason, there has to be a legal immigration policy for the entire country to make sure that the country is in a solid financial and safe status. That's why there is a legal process. Now, I admire that there are dreams that people have. I really do. I've seen them throughout my life. I have a dream of having a very wealthy bank account. I do. I'll be honest with you. I work very hard. However, if I circumnavigate the rules and the arduous process that is required to legally obtain a healthy financial status for myself, then I should go to jail. I'll probably harm somebody in doing that.
2 minutes.
I didn't mean to rush you, it's over 3 minutes.
Just the last thing that I want to say is, in closing, I've heard that there's been some efforts to change what was passed by committee, to actually change what was in the proposal that was passed by committee. And I just want to ask what's going on. What kind of shenanigans are going on here? If something was passed by committee, then that either needs to be tabled or vote up and down as it was written, and not be changed. That's all I have to say.
My name is Joe Yara. I'm a resident of 14 Amy Court, Kingston, 3rd Ward. And just briefly, what good does calling Kingston a sanctuary city do for Kingston? Of course, we are a welcoming and inclusive city. We've always been a welcoming and inclusive city. But does that mean we're going to hide people from the authorities? Good. I have sat up here many, many years ago, and I was a young man. And I know it's difficult many times to do what you want to do. But you shouldn't think about re-election. You really shouldn't. Whatever this one says, that one says, don't think about re-election. Are you honestly telling us that you're not doing this because you're very upset about the election? You are upset about the election, and you're doing this, which is a hateful act on your part, to call us a sanctuary city. This is not a good thing. The law is the law. You can't say, I don't like how that election came out, and I hate what happened, and I'm not going to follow the law.
Reverend Richard Mahler, Jean Jacobs, Matt Colangelo, Lawrence McCauley, Joanne Myers.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity. I'm here wearing several hats, none of them are orange. I'm at 255 Village Court in Kingston. I'm chair of social action at Temple Emmanuel. I'm member of the Board of Trustees there. I'm an interfaith minister. I'm here as a person of conscience. There was already a reference to Leviticus 19:33-44, and I want to repeat it because I think it's really important. The stranger who sojourns with you shall be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. And there's a commentary on that. The foreigner, however we define that, must not only be protected against molestation, but be shown positive love. What we're talking about here is not just about law. We all want to be protected. We want to have a safe city. Asking people their immigration status when it's irrelevant to what's going on, if they're requiring police help or medical help, it's about providing that love, help, and support, not what is your legal status. If you've broken the law, that's a different matter. The issue is not so much about sanctuary as much as being welcoming and inclusive, and having a community that has a sense of moral authority. As individuals, as Christians, Jews, Muslims, believers or non-believers, we're aware of the challenges currently confronting our country and our local communities, as well as the challenges facing many of those who aspire to achieve the American dream of a safe place in which to live and support their families. Respect for diversity, inclusivity, civil rights, and human rights have defined the idealism of the United States of America. We seek connectedness, that which we share with others who may appear different in appearance, race, country of birth, language, gender identity, disability, sexual orientation, or expressions of religious faith. And we want that connectedness with other human beings. The ability to live and learn and work together is being threatened by unsubstantiated fear of, quote, the others, unquote, created by individuals who would replace democracy with oligarchy. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Common Council, my community here this evening. My name is Jean Jacobs. I live at 139 Wall Street, Kingston, New York. I am a lifelong resident, born and raised here. My great-grandfather, Charles Anderson, came over from Denmark and bought the homestead. Many of you will know it here this evening. The home at the entrance to the Kingston Point Park in 1881. And the rest is history. My whole family is from this community. So I am here this evening in opposition to the sanctuary city. I have a real issue, and I spoke at the last meeting, you all remember. I spoke with regard to the word illegal. How can we encourage and promote people that are illegal to come to our community? There is a legal process. We teach our children. Our children know when we say the word illegal. I'm concerned about taxes, the cost. There are 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States of America. Who is managing this? We really need to do a study, like the gentleman said before, and I'm all about that. And therefore, I suggest this evening, before you make any further decisions, that you consider tabling this until you do your homework. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Matt Colangelo. And I'm not here tonight to talk to these guys. I'm here to talk to everybody in this room. A lot of confusion going on. I'm here to tell you how to make Kingston great again. It's easy. I heard one guy compare immigrants to cats. I heard another guy come up here unprepared and ask if he did 100 studies. Have you done a study that analyzed the duration of time it would take to get to know the residents of this city? Because we all want studies, and we all want everyone else to do everything for us. We want someone else to make Kingston great again. But I'm going to tell you how to make Kingston great again. I brought my friend here. His name is Leo. Hello, everybody. Leo has been a resident, a taxpayer, and a business owner of this city for 20 years. And I'm going to explain why we need to be a sanctuary city today. Because Leo has been trying since 1994 to become a legal citizen. And today, as a matter of fact, he found out that his flight was over, and he has 30 days to leave. Just like that. He's been going to the city constantly, doing everything that he needs to be doing the legal way. But because of policy changes, it doesn't matter anymore. They don't care that his son is going to be left behind. You know what they told him? He's old enough. He'll adjust. You've been here long enough. So we want to eliminate people like Leo from our community. I mean, analyze this for a minute. You know, you can't just generalize everybody because we're different. And I'm going to tell you the amount of time it would take to do a study. It's going to take a matter of minutes. Because I want Leo to tell everybody his story. Because you need to see the human cause. We all have fears every day. How are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to send our kids to college? Are our taxes going to go up? He deals with that too. But now, the unknown of being told that you have to leave, that's a monumental work. But I want Leo to introduce himself and just tell you himself so you can actually get to see it and hear it from someone who is going to be impacted by this.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this chance. Thank you, Matthew. I'm here because really everybody talk about justice, and it's good to follow, you know. But sometimes justice has covered a band in the eyes and a sword in the hand. Sometimes justice only see black and white, and miss that little gray part in between, who the persons who really try to do better, try to be part of this community, try to work hard and follow the rules, follow the law. We're not breaking laws, we're not asking for anything free. This country gives an opportunity to everyone, but it's not free. Everybody pays for everything here. And we're not asking, I'm not speaking only for me, or for Latin peoples, for Hispanic peoples. I speaking because I have friends from the other part of the continent, you know, from Europe, from Afghanistan even, you know. Not everybody speaks bad. Some do bad things, but everybody judge because the race. Everybody judge because Hispanic people rape a woman. So every Hispanic people is gonna be like that. It's not like that. I only ask you yes to everyone because today they told me, you know, I went to my appointment like those last 7 years. I've been coming every time they ask me, I follow, I work for everything they ask me to. And today they say, okay, you got 30 days. I say, what are you gonna do with my son? The mother is an American citizen. She born here, she's a white American woman. So, of course, a mother don't gonna let the son go with me. So that's my breaking part. You know, my heart's broken because of that. I got 30 days. What are you gonna do? I worked so hard for this business. We got, probably many of you guys know us, and we're working hard. Like I say, we're not asking for anything free. But now he just told me like that, you're gonna lose everything just because law is changed or because they already think that way. I'm here too because in the story it says when Babylon take the peoples of Israel, God says, work harder and prosper because if you the place where you go, you prosper too. So that's the way we want to do it. We prosper to everybody, to Kingston can prosper too. Thank you.
My name is Lawrence McCauley. I live at 132 Andrew Street, and that was very moving. But I still think we don't need to move so fast. We do need to study the residual effects of becoming a sanctuary city. That's all I have to say. But I have here a letter from my neighbor, Maria Phillips, who lives at 100 Andrew Street. And she writes, "It boggles my mind that the mayor and some council people actually think this is okay to continue violating federal law. Violating federal law puts the city at high risk for losing our federal funding. Why do you think it is okay to pick and choose which laws you want to uphold? If you believe this is okay, then all residents of this city should be able to pick and choose which laws we want to abide by as well. If you're sitting there saying to yourself, it doesn't work that way, then how do you justify not enforcing federal law? State and local laws do not override federal law. You were so adamant about upholding city law and even creating a new law so as to not allow Dr. Sawyer's indoor range here, but you were totally okay with violating federal law. If anyone in a position of power representing our city sees nothing wrong with this, then you need to step down immediately and relinquish your title. You are not fit to represent the entire city of Kingston."
Good evening. I'm Dr. Joanne Myers, 56 of Beale Street. But tonight I'm speaking on behalf of the Ulster County Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission supports the reaffirmation of the City of Kingston as a welcoming and inclusive city. The resolution as proposed reaffirms the commitment of the long-standing practices by the city especially those of the city's first responders, of not inquiring into the immigrant status of persons in need of services. Immigrants, especially persons without documentation, tend to be some of our most vulnerable. Persons who do not have documentation need to be able to access emergency services, police, fire, medical, without fear. The incoming federal administration has targeted immigrants, making many fearful. This fear is not conducive to the goals of public safety or justice in our communities. May I remind us all that our families too were immigrants, some even forcibly brought here. This fear has also affected some citizens who feel that the city might lose access to some federal funding. May I also remind all that this threat of vindictive retribution is unconstitutional. We also want to note that persons without documentation represent many nationalities and ethnicities. They also contribute to the fabric of our city, county, state, and nation. Most work and are law-abiding, including paying taxes and Social Security, which they may never collect. I do need to note that some members of the Ulster County Human Rights Commission feel that the term sanctuary city is inappropriate because it's misleading. The mayor is neither proposing immunity nor asylum to anyone. The term sanctuary excludes some people and raises red flags for others, even though municipalities are not charged with enforcing immigration regulations. We are supportive of the language of welcoming and inclusive city and applaud the mayor and the city council for this initiative. And I have a copy of it on letter, so we'll take it. Thank you.
Constance Fred, Maria Elena Farrer, Reverend Kendra Van Houten, Emily Flynn, and Tom Hackett.
Good evening. My name is Constance Wright, and I've lived on Main Street here in Kingston for almost 24 years. I'm here tonight to express briefly and yet fervently my support for the Common Council's welcoming and inclusive resolution to be voted on later this evening. As a Unitarian Universalist, I've committed myself to a belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, regardless of faith, ethnicity, class, race, sexual orientation, or culture. We human beings are said to have the capacity for compassion and empathy for others, even though we may not yet find ourselves in their situation. I believe that the large majority of persons listed as, quote, illegal aliens, close quotes, are neither illegal or alien. They're human beings, most of whom would rather have been able to remain in their countries of origin, but for very adverse circumstances which make it impossible, often life-threatening, for them to do so. Recent rhetoric during the presidential campaign and since the election has sought to criminalize people who are merely attempting to find safe haven for their families. It has also served to create fear and anxiety among both our own citizenry as well as among persons who are still regarded as, quote, the other, unquote, even though they may have been here in this country for many years. We're told that they have taken or will take our jobs, when in actuality, the only jobs they find are those hard-to-fill positions, which people who are already citizens consider either too demeaning or too underpaid or both. In my opinion, we who live here in Kingston now are really fortunate to be able to play a role in the many exciting ways our great, if little city, is moving forward. Asserting ourselves to be a welcoming, inclusive community and taking the symbolic step to be voted on here in a few minutes should be seen as closely connected to the many other positive developments happening here in Kingston, which we have heard about from Mayor Noble this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Marilena Ferrer. I live in 57 Fairmont Avenue. And Kingston has been my home for the last 5 years. I always felt this city as a welcoming and inclusive, and I'm trying to give my 2 cents to keep that happening. I definitely applaud the language of inclusivity for every human being. I just wanted to make 3 clarifications. No human being is ideal. The resolution is not calling for more people, it is asking to provide more safety to everybody, because regardless document or not, everybody should be able to call the police when it's needed. I think that that's what the resolution mentioned. The resolution is not offering any asylum, any amnesty, it's not offering any of those things, so it's not a real calling. And the last thing for the gentleman that asked for research, there are plenty of research out there. I recommend everybody to look at the Pew Research Center and we'll see how much all those undocumented people are giving to the entire country and how little they are taking.
Reverend Ken Ribbenhausen of 14 Stickles Avenue in Kingston, and I have been in Kingston for a little over 6 years, where I serve at Fair Street Reformed Church as minister. I speak in favor of tonight's resolution and share a story of a young married couple with a baby. This couple does not live in Kingston. In fact, they don't even live in the state of New York. The husband, undocumented, is afraid, as is his wife. And just because his wife and baby, who are both citizens, does not give him the peace of mind or take away the fact that he might be separated from his family while he works towards becoming a citizen. Because of the enormous financial burden it is to enter the process of becoming a citizen the traditional way, they have not yet been able to file the paperwork, and they live with the anxiety and fear of being separated, as much as some here live in fear for what might happen if this passes. Many folks, many of our friends, our co-workers, our colleagues, our families are wanting to become citizens, but are burdened by not being able to work, not being able to provide for their families, and contribute to community in which they live, and save for the enormous financial burden and the fee that is set before them to begin this process. This is just one of the many real-life stories I share with you. And in a few days, we're going to be observing Martin Luther King Jr. Day, who reminds us we live in fear because we don't know the other person's story. When we live in fear, we allow our fear to shape the other person's story. Their story is not our story to live or to tell. Should this resolution pass, I can assure you that the couple I tell you the story of will not pack up and move to Kingston. They will stay in their community. They will continue to live and work through the process, which, with the ease of mind and the peace that there is hope, and that there is a place and a safe place for someone somewhere. It is my hope that we can continue to be a city that values diversity, respects every person, and creates a safe place so no one has to live in fear. Thank you.
big discussion tonight, but I do feel strongly that those spaces should be paid for. I feel that there's lots of free parking in the Hannaford Plaza, south of Maiden Lane, and in other parts of uptown. And I feel that it is a few short blocks long. So I first want to say that I support that. And I also look forward to more discussion about it. Secondly, I support the mayor's proposal for a sanctuary status. It seems that much of the response to the sanctuary status is based on fear of the unknown. So I challenge you, the members of the community, to make a New Year's resolution. I challenge you to meet and talk with an immigrant. Visit one of our restaurants here in Kingston, talk with an owner or a worker, ask them, why did they come to America? What brought them here to Kingston? Of the immigrants that I have met here and elsewhere, they have been law-abiding, tax-paying, wonderful people. They work hard for their families and just want a fulfilling life, just as us. I challenge you to see that you had been born in another country and felt that you could have a better life here in Kingston, that you too would be an immigrant. I am here today to say to you, my community, that I welcome visitors, newly residents, and the people who have grown up in this beautiful Hudson Valley. I welcome you all. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Tom Hackett. I reside at 70 Wall Street in the city of Kingston. And I'm here to support the resolution reaffirming Kingston as a welcoming and inclusive community. Many others have spoken more eloquently than I can in favor of this resolution, so I will not take your time to repeat what others have said. Thank you very much.
Michael Russell, Jeremy Labor, Tom Hoffey, Matthew Jabia, and Leo Shepherd.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Michael Russell of 305 Hurley Avenue, Kingston, New York. I've been a resident of Kingston off and on my whole life. Retired from the fire department down in Virginia Beach, moved back here. Don't ask me why, but I did. Some of the important things that we need to discuss tonight, I know I'm going to make it quick, is that laws are made to protect the citizens, not to potentially jeopardize them or put their safety at risk. When a law is made, and I know this has been said numerous times tonight, we cannot pick and choose which law we want to follow because we don't agree with that person or this person, or it sounds like it's going to save somebody's life or not. It's a law. That's why they're there. We cannot fix our immigration system by creating sanctuary cities. We have to go to our government and try to fix the sanctuary or the path to citizenship so people like Leo can stay in this great country of ours. Right now, the city of Ulster County spends about 36.8% of its budget, which is well over $100 million, on taxpayers' money for social services. Are we able to continue to do that? Are we able to continue to keep raising that? To bring people into our city? I will end this on time, unlike a lot of other people here, by stating that tolerating illegal immigrants and providing a safe haven for illegal immigrants is unfair to immigrants who respect our nation's laws and did what they could to come here to the country the right way. Thank you.
Jeremy Labor, 41 Brewster Street, Kingston. I'd like to express my opposition to the memorializing resolution proposed by Mayor Noble, declaring Kingston a sanctuary city. First, let me say I agree. We need to have a fair way for people to continue to immigrate to this country legally in numbers that make sense. We're a country of immigrants. My